And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Keith Kuntz. We are following breaking news in the Michael Skakel case. We can tell you in just the past 5 or 10 minutes, a judge set bond for Michael Skakel at $1.2 million. Skakel has apparently posted that bond and he will shortly be leaving Stamford Superior Court a free man. Skakel, by way of the judge, has been ordered to stay in Connecticut. He will also have to wear a GPS tracking device, and he can have no contact with the family of Martha Moxley. All right, we want to go right now to Stamford Superior Court, where News 8's Erin Cox has been following this hearing all morning. She joins us now live. Erin?
Good afternoon, Keith. Right now, Michael Skakel, just minutes from walking out of this courthouse, essentially a free man. Right now, he's filling out some paperwork, and the family that came to the hearing with a bail bondsman, they are ready to post $1,200,000 cash. So we expect Michael Skakel will be walking out the front door, and of course, there are plenty of cameras here to capture that moment. So after 11 years in prison, professing his innocence, Michael Skakel going to walk out of the courtroom. So how did we get to this point? Well, a judge last month determined that Michael Skakel should get a new trial. And in doing so, that basically put the case all the way back to square one, meaning just like anyone else who is a defendant in a case, they have the option to post bond. So when they argued this morning about bond, it wasn't whether or not Michael Skakel was going to walk out. Everyone agreed he was going to get bond and walk out. It really came down to the amount. Now, the state bail commissioner was asking for a $1 million bond. Way back in 2000, when Skakel was first arrested, the bond was $500,000. So this judge in Stamford Superior Court determining $1 million wasn't quite enough, so we went to $1,200,000 for Michael Skakel. Michael Skakel not showing much of a reaction in court. He knew there was a camera there watching his every moment. Also with Michael Skakel, right behind him were his family. 3 of his brothers are here today. They are expected to ride with Michael Skakel when he leaves. So where is Michael Skakel going? That's a really good question, and we would all like to be able to answer that. However, his lawyer made a plea to the judge this afternoon in court. Michael Skakel will reside in Connecticut as required by one of the bond conditions, but they asked that they be allowed to give that address in private to the court, to the Connecticut bail commissioner. They say simply they are concerned about there being a swarm of media outside wherever Michael Skakel will reside. I can tell you that Michael's youngest brother, Stephen, he is one of the only brothers that resides right here in Connecticut. His 2 other brothers live out of state, the 2 that accompanied him. So it's likely he'll be residing with his brother, Stephen, but we can't say that for sure. Also in the courtroom today was Dorothy Moxley. She is the mother of the victim in this case, Martha Moxley, also the older brother, John. We weren't able to see their faces and their reaction, but you know, the family has maintained that that first jury, certainly they got it right, that when they determined Michael Skakel was guilty for the murder, they believe the jury was correct, and they have maintained and been convinced that Michael Skakel was the right person to be in prison. So certainly a difficult afternoon for the Moxley family. I think they knew that Michael Skakel was going to walk out of court today, but I don't think it will be easy for them to watch that moment when he does leave. Keith, right now, all the media is gathered at the front of the court. Every photographer, national photographers here, everyone wanting to get that moment when Michael Skakel, dressed nicely in a suit, walks out with his family and is able to leave. So there's a huge media presence expecting to see Michael Skakel very shortly. We're hoping to hear from Dorothy and John Moxley getting their reaction. So that's where we're at this point, Keith.
Erin, is there any expectation that we will hear anything from Michael Skakel at this point?
You know, I'm not a defense lawyer, but I've covered a lot of cases.
Right.
If I was Michael Skakel's lawyer, I wouldn't let him anywhere near those microphones. But why? Why wouldn't you want Michael Skakel to come out smiling, gloating, and professing his long-believed innocence? Because there is still another trial to go. You heard the judge today. He set the trial date, 2019. So Michael Skakel still has to follow some strict rules. You don't want a judge thinking that this guy is going off and talking to a lot of folks. So I do not think we will hear from Michael Skakel today. The only time we've really ever heard from him is when he testified at his parole hearing. He was denied for parole. And we also heard him testify in the case that his lawyer was ineffective. So we've seen him take the stand and speak officially when it really mattered for him legally. However, I don't think we're going to see a smiling Michael Skakel at the microphones this afternoon. Keith?
Aaron, we've also seen Martha Moxley speak to the media on many occasions in this case. Would you expect her to say anything public today, although we certainly know her feelings about this bond?
I think we all know how Martha Moxley probably feels today, but I do expect her to speak. She has been one of the most gracious people I have ever encountered in covering so many difficult murder and homicide cases. Remember, she lived for so long with the mystery of who killed my daughter. Her daughter was killed the night before Halloween back in 1975, and Michael Skakel, while he was a suspect and his older brother Tommy was a suspect and talked about, Michael Skakel not arrested until the year 2000. So she's been living with a mystery a long time, and she's pretty comfortable speaking with the media and always has been gracious to us. Her son John, Martha's older brother, is here, and I do expect them to speak at the microphones. It may not be a lengthy thing, but I do expect to hear from them. Keith?